You never know who's watching or how fast life can turn around. That day started like any other at a small-town cafe. Quiet, slow, with the smell of coffee and rain in the air. But by noon, a single cruel act would shake everyone inside. Test the limits of human decency, and end with the roar of Harley engines echoing justice. It all began with Henry Walker, an 81-year-old Vietnam veteran who'd made the cafe his daily stop for years. Every morning, he'd come in wearing his old leather jacket with faded military patches, his cane tapping gently on the floor, and a smile that could light up anyone's day. The staff adored him. He always asked about their families, left generous tips even on his small pension, and never complained, even when arthritis made it hard for him to lift his cup. But not everyone respected that kindness. That afternoon, the cafe was unusually busy. The windows fogged from the rain outside, and conversations hummed softly between the clinks of dishes. Henry sat by the corner window, reading the paper, when a group of young men came in, loud, arrogant, the kind who wanted attention. One of them, tall and heavily tattooed, noticed Henry. He nudged his friends and smirked. "Look at Grandpa over there," he sneered. "Probably thinks he's still fighting a war." His friends chuckled, but Henry didn't react. He'd heard worse in his life. But the thug wasn't done. He walked over, his boots heavy on the wooden floor, and stood by Henry's table. "Hey, old man," he said, leaning close. "You think wearing those patches makes you a hero?" Henry looked up calmly. His voice was steady, though tired. "No," he said. "They just remind me of the men who didn't make it back." The cafe went silent. The thug sneered. "Yeah, well, maybe they should have stayed home instead of playing soldier." That was when he shoved Henry's cup off the table, shattering it. The hot coffee splashed across Henry's arm, and the old man winced but didn't fight back. The waitress, a young woman named Lisa, rushed over, her voice shaking. "Hey, leave him alone." But the thug laughed. "What's he gonna do? Hit me with his cane?" Then it happened. He slapped the newspaper out of Henry's hand, grabbed his jacket, and shoved him back against the booth. The old man fell sideways, his cane clattering to the ground. Lisa screamed. Someone pulled out their phone, filming, but nobody dared step in. Henry struggled to sit up, his breath ragged. For a moment, he looked like a man who had seen enough battles in his lifetime and was too tired for another one. But even as the thug cursed at him, Henry's eyes held no fear. Just quiet sadness then. The doorbell jingled. A gust of cold air swept in as three men entered, soaked from the rain, leather jackets glistening. The first one froze when he saw Henry on the floor. His expression turned from confusion to fury. That man was Jake Walker, Henry's son. The thug, oblivious, laughed. "What, you here to help your grandpa too?" But Lisa whispered to him, "That's his son." Jake's jaw clenched. He stepped forward, and as he did, the light outside caught the back of his jacket, the unmistakable logo of the Hells Angels. The cafe gasped. Jake wasn't just anyone. He was a respected member of the local chapter, known not for trouble, but for loyalty and protection of those who couldn't fight for themselves. The thug tried to play it cool, smirking. "Oh, biker boy. You gonna teach me a lesson?" Jake didn't answer. He just looked at his father, bruised, trembling, trying to pick up his cane. Then he turned to the thug and said quietly, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." Outside, the sound began faint, a low rumble in the distance. Within seconds, it grew louder. Windows rattled. The cafe floor seemed to shake. Dozens of motorcycles rolled in, one after another, filling the parking lot with the roar of engines and flashing headlights. The Hells Angels had arrived. The thug's smirk vanished. He turned toward the window, realizing he was surrounded. Jake grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the counter. "You think you're tough picking on an old man?" He growled. "That's my father. He earned every one of those patches you mocked." The thug stammered, trying to push back, but Jake's grip tightened. The other bikers poured in, their presence filling the small cafe like a storm. Nobody raised a hand, though. They didn't have to. Their silence was enough. Jake looked to Henry. "You okay, Dad?" Henry nodded weakly. "I'm fine, son. Let him go. He's not worth it." Jake hesitated, his eyes still burning with anger. Then, with a slow breath, he released the thug, who stumbled back, pale and shaking. Henry, still seated, looked up at the man who attacked him. "Son," he said softly, "when I was your age, I fought so you could live in a country where you don't have to fear men like this. Don't waste that freedom on hate." The cafe fell silent again. Even the thug looked stunned, ashamed even. He muttered something, turned, and ran out the door, disappearing into the rain. Jake helped his father to his feet, steadying him. The bikers stepped aside respectfully, nodding at the veteran as he passed. Lisa handed him a new cup of coffee, tears in her eyes. Henry smiled faintly. "Guess I've still got some people watching out for me." Jake grinned. "Always, Dad." The Hells Angels stayed for hours that day. They filled the cafe, paid for everyone's meals, and made sure the place felt safe again. The town would talk about it for years, the day the bikers stood up for an old soldier. Not with fists, but with loyalty and respect. Later that night, after everyone left, Lisa found Henry sitting by the window again, staring at the rain. She asked him quietly, "Do you ever wish things were different? That people didn't have to fight to be respected?" Henry smiled. "You can't stop hate, sweetheart. But you can outlive it, with dignity, with kindness, and with people who stand beside you." And outside, the faint echo of engines faded into the night, not as a threat, but as a promise that some bonds, especially between fathers and sons, are forged stronger than steel. That day reminded everyone that courage doesn't always wear uniforms or ride motorcycles. Sometimes it simply sits quietly at a corner table, sipping coffee and refusing to break.